It's April 14th, 2022. It's a Thursday. I'm watching See the BS this morning, and there's a few things on. One is there's a piece, which I greatly appreciate, by again, family members you haven't met. She works in between Syracuse and Washington, D.C. She's been able to figure out how to get to Washington and what lawmaking is. She gets to meet with senators. She's in that arena, and she's had help to get there by her parents. She also has a special disability because she has Down syndrome. What I don't understand is, in Long Island, where I've been, same state where Syracuse is, just I'm downstate, she's upstate, there was the elementary school, there was presidential acknowledgement that we were there, and then there was being held captive and a horrific life that I was forced into. What I don't understand is why all of the opportunity, in order to even, I don't have to go to Washington. I don't need to. That's not my modus operandi. But to withhold the proper marriage when I did absolutely nothing wrong and everything right my entire youth is absolutely disgusting. So I'm going to put on how I just learned in the year 2022 how it's even possible for somebody in New York to get 6 hours down south, for her it's a little longer, to Washington, and what it even looks like through some investigative journalism that they put on. Then it goes, I'm going to go to a piece about Ralph Lauren. I think he grew up in New York as well. I think they said his name is Lipschitz. Right. He's all about the shit bags because he's part of the pedophiles that are bodies in the basement. He's part of that transfer of money and power and launder it and leave it to something that's not him. What I don't understand is who would want that level of legacy ever. It puts your generational gap into a really deceitful position, and it makes the children before, during, and present, it puts them in complete danger and harm's way. So now, they have this thing about, so they're making it all about black history and stuff. I can't even learn white history in New York. All I hear is about black history. Nobody cares. It's Mount Rushmore, and there's some paper linen here now, and there's some people in Washington. The portraits on the wall, yeah, I belong in that ancestry closet. And while I'm willing to work with people, I have my whole entire life, and out in the streets, I don't care who you are. You're a human being. I treat you as such. That's it. Do I want to be lifelong friends? Probably not. But whatever. But now, here we are and then it goes to the metaverse, where now they've wasted my entire life frame on programming this stupid catch basin where they put these goggles on unsuspecting jurors just to show them what the outside world that they can't see looks like, potentially, and that they're doing it on the inside world as well. For what reason? I don't know. Did it exist before my birth? Probably. In some quiet whatever. But now, the whole world's gone to shit on the outside. And then the metaverse is sitting here where everybody wants to spend hours It's the same thing with the movie theater with Linda. She sits in this stupid chair from the morning until the evening most days. She has no life whatsoever. It's a disgusting, like, why bother being human? I mean, she's overweight. She hates everything about herself and about life, as do I. And there's no way to participate because there's no community. They already broke apart community, family, and gave it over to something that we're not. There's a whole lot of not us in New York. So now, the metaverse, they spend hours inside of there, and they're hoping that it'll be completely submersive. Why? What happens to the outside world then? Just falls to shit? Because nobody's willing to work in real time, face to face. Everybody wants to work in this submersive pretend the world doesn't look as horrible and fell apart as it did. I mean, all it is an escape to a seemingly perfect world, or a world that you have control over, rather than looking at the world that's falling apart, that seems out of control, which is the real world you live in, you wake up and you go to sleep in. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting the way that this has transpired. I'm so disappointed in humanity. It's like beyond real.
This morning we're continuing our special series, Kindness 101, with Steve Hartman, who is sharing stories that are built around themes of kindness and character, and focusing on the people who have mastered those qualities. Today's lesson, fortitude. Steve and his kids show us.
I don't, by the way, consider this piece Bodies in the Basement. I consider this family business. I respect family business. The Ralph Lauren, I consider Bodies in the Basement. This, whatever they did to get a metaverse, I consider Bodies in the Basement.
Us what one woman made possible with a little patience and a whole lot of grit.
Good morning, everyone. This is my daughter, Meryl.
Hi.
And as you can see, we have two forts on our desk. This one Meryl made out of stone, and this one I made out of cards. Now, Meryl, which fort would you rather live in?
The stone one.
Right, because this fort has more
Fortitude.
The word fort's right in there. What's that word mean, though? For that, let's go over to Emmett at the dictionary desk. Emmett?
Now, let's just go real quick. Father and daughter. My dad and I could have been like this. Could have looked to Emmett for help. Could have had a nice family business, integrated careers. I could have had a nice, respectful, because this is how wonderful it began. He was in respectable attire, as was I. I was in a quiet, like, no-nonsense town, no drugs, no alcohol, no anything growing up. I might have been under a rock, but it was the correct rock to be under. But yet, I was not transferred from this little chick, little egg program into the correct hand of something with intelligence. Instead, from here, I was brought back to the fallout shelter, which is in Queens. It's on the telephone building. It's posted as such. I don't know how else to verbalize it. And then I was thrown into a whole lot of things I don't even want to go over. But it wound up being with a under 6 foot, my body totally mutilated, and he tried murdering me. So it hasn't exactly been a great humanity when I started out like this, and I had expectations of something intelligent and over 6 foot. Not too much to ask for from the family. I wasn't asking for them to hand their keys over. I wasn't asking for them to hand their business over. Just to go from this respectable, with a respectable father, directly to something that was over 6 foot with some intelligence. That's respectable family business. What's transpired in New York is bodies in the basement. It's absolutely disgusting. And our treatment thereof has been absolutely, my mother, my father, myself, it's disgusting.
Good morning. Fortitude is to have or feel strength.
Yeah, in people, it's the emotion.
My kids are not even treated this respectfully in New York at this point. Perhaps the ones that are with the guy who tried to murder me and who I was mutilated next to while I slept, perhaps they're treated a little bit better because there's some other bodies in the basement shit going on. My son Ben got assigned some guy Dave. But as far as my own person and the last son, we don't even have this level of respect because he's forced into bodies in the basement with a not us senator who calls himself that inside of, but I can't verify that he's actually qualified as a senator, and then a borough president for Queens that is a not us, but looks more like bodies in the basement.
Emotional strength you need to get through tough times, so that whenever anything bad blows your way, fortitude helps you withstand the adversity. And there's no better example of this than the woman in the story we're about to show you. A story pulled from our archive of amazing Americans, the living embodiment.
So in New York, the House of Family was House of Cards, is what he, according to his little thing this morning. I mean, I'm still in a fortitude of rock, paper, scissors, but I'm stuck in some House of Cards that blew over. Just curious, because it gets a little confusing as to why and how anyone's still standing based on their neglect of and shirking of their own responsibility.
Of fortitude. Kayla McKeon may be Washington's most unlikely power broker. As a lobbyist, the only registered lobbyist with Down syndrome, Kayla roams the Capitol advocating for the national Down.
In New York, I've never learned what a lobbyist is, how to become one, how to integrate myself into this level of respectable. Even in the elementary school that I was moved to, which was a quiet schoolhouse during the day, I didn't have access to the country club life, where they played golf, where they played tennis, swimming. I mean, like Lloyd Harbor Bath Club or the Huntington Country Club. I didn't have access to either. So I don't know what they did after hours, if they had visitors, if they had special education. I wasn't a part of it, and they didn't invite me in. I was in a room inside of a house because I was a small kid and I couldn't go out by myself. And that's where I was held for years. I got to go to school during the day, but we didn't learn this kind of stuff. How to find the family, how to get to the family, what to say, how to say it. I mean, there's a level of grooming. We got up, we showered, we got dressed, we went to school. That's it. There was no exercise regimen. There was no scheduling. There was no how to find the family after our time in the schoolhouse was over. None of that.
Syndrome Society.
I'm good.
She's an incredible asset to this organization.
Sarah Hart Weir is her boss.
She's extremely articulate and she's quick on her feet.
And I'm not gonna take no for an answer.
They hired you for your communication skills
That
and
too.
your charm.
You're good at this.
It takes a schmoozer to know a schmoozer. But Kayla also has a certain sincerity that can turn almost any politician into putty.
I need your help.
Okay. Do you need a sponsor?
I definitely need you.
Am I surprised that she's in Washington?
I don't know what sponsor means there. In this New York area, like outside my front door, the only time I've ever heard of the word sponsor is a brand for some kind of sports event that I don't participate in. Again, have no idea how to enter that arena. Or it's for drug people who have drug abuse. They apparently get assigned a sponsor and they have to call into them. It's something that they instilled on Long Island. I don't have one. I'm not a part of it, but I've met somebody who has.
D.C. calling on senators and congressmen out. Yeah.
Her parents, Mark and Patty, say although their daughter continues to surprise, Kayla never really let Down syndrome slow her down. They say even at 2, Kayla had already decided she would drive a car someday.
To pass the permit test, we said you have to be able to read. So that gave her encouragement to knuckle down and start reading. And right now, she still reads a book a week.
And she got her driver's license too. That's her celebrating after passing the road test. She's now one of just a handful of people with Down syndrome to have a license.
What about that parallel parking?
You don't want to know.
Really?
That's challenging.
Fortunately, today she does more flying than driving. A couple times a month, she leaves her home in Syracuse for her office in D.C., where Kayla is focused on passing a law that would make it illegal to pay people with disabilities anything less than minimum wage.
I got it.
She says if it passes, it would be a monumental achievement, but a thrill regardless, just to be part of the process.
I just love.
Yeah, just to be part of the process. Wouldn't that be nice? Rather than having all of this thing that calls itself the family, which has shared ancestry and shared responsibility on keeping blood brothers and blood bank secure. High atop, like, funding and venture and adventure and all this other stuff, there is a mutual responsibility and loyalty. Or at least there's supposed to be. I haven't really seen much of it.
The feeling of, wow, I'm here. I'm making history.
Hard to believe.
Oh, yeah.
Kayla McKeon, Lily in the Swamp.
I'll support the bill.
Joining us now, my friend and my inspiration, Kayla. Hello.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Mel. Hi, Emmett. Hi, Kayla.
Is it true you're getting your college degree now?
Actually, I'm 2 classes away from my associate's degree in dental studies.
Wow.
And I just passed my meteorology class last time.
Wait, you passed your meteorology class?
Yes, with a
I
C.
dropped out of that class.
Oh.
I didn't even know meteorology was a class.
That's hard.
Yes, very hard. That's a math.
Did you pass your driving test the first time?
Not my first time, but my 5th time.
How do you not give up?
I am very persistent. Yes, I'm tempted, but no, that would never happen.
Seems like a big part of fortitude is patience, and budging Congress on anything I think would take a lot of patience, right?
Oh, absolutely it does.
Where does that law stand now?
Talk about patience, because it has to go through many channels.
And you're not going to give up because you have...
That's why when it comes to marriage and you're sweet and innocent, haven't been defiled in any way, it is so much easier to find husbandry and where you're going than to allow anything, to any even whiff of a problem to arise. But apparently that's been too difficult with whatever else they've set with some agenda that nobody else has copies of.
Fortitude, done it.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And good luck to you, powering through whatever obstacles you face today. We'll see you next time.
Until then, stay kind.
This just shows me the family's still working. At some level, it's still working. They've excluded me from it, but it still exists.
All right, Meryl, we will do our best to stay kind. That's not hard to do. Didn't we love Kayla?
We love Kayla. I love these Steve Hartman stories.
Me too.
They're so good.
I like what Kayla said to Steve. You're good at this. You go, Kayla. You're good at this too.
And now this story coming up is what it looks like with some kind of forcible exchange of money and power due to bodies in the basement. There's two faceless queens that I'm aware of, Anne and Victoria. Elizabeth has a face. I have a face in the borough of Queens. And then there's a whole lot of bodies in the basement prior to my existence.
Turn now to a new clothing inspired by historically black colleges from one of America's most iconic fashion brands. The new collection from Ralph Lauren draws on the archives and the yearbooks of Morehouse and Spelman colleges. It leans heavily on campus fashion.
Now, this feels like the bell curve that was a nice, expected whatever for the family, for the children, for the seating, for the garden, for all the beautiful things we did before I arrived in a life far, far away from here. It feels like they took everything that was in our closed family chapter and closed family loop that makes us as amazing as we are, and they took the string that there's a curve, and they just pulled it and flattened the curve. So now there's no more learning curve for quiet, private family. They opened the loop and they invited in other things. No idea why. But when it's invited in, now we're in an inverse, which Top Gun has this wonderful scene where they're sitting there and he's like, something about it was an inverted fly, whatever, which seems impossible, but here we are. Bodies in the basement, because it's some kind of the base meant to do this, and it was supposed to be nice, but we got our part wrong. Yeah, well, there's real life consequences, there's real life buried bodies, and there's real life need for intervention. In like, get yourself out of your headspace and go effing help. Take your own advice and go sponsor a kid that got buried.
From the 1920s,
and it doesn't look like this because this is what's shoveling shit,
employees who are alumni of those schools,
making it harder for those of us who are buried.
And their dreams for what the collection might represent.
I have always believed in the American dream.
For over 50 years.
Great. I'm glad he at least believed in the American dream, because I've been withheld from his idealistic American dream.
Ralph Lauren's line of clothing has
and the dream he was afforded in on to design this level of niceness for like golf course attire. Wow, he was given that level of opportunity, and then on his own fruition or on some advised schematic of transference of power, whether it be by pen or by long onset, which is in a future statistical and empirical data set that they already know at the family that I'm speaking of, who the buried bodies are going to be and how much help they need. But here we are. This is what he used to design for. He had another piece, but now it's just like, I don't even want to hear the rest of the story because I already watched it once, and that's enough. I was sick to my stomach watching it the first time.
Celebrated elegance and style with a romanticized vision of America. Now, its latest
Romanticized vision of America, that's amazing, because this is not in my romantic America. For this to be accomplished, I had to have all these defiling events go on and to shame me for some reason and to keep me away from a proper marriage just so this could have some clothing, get on the golf course. Are you all crazy?
Latest chapter of Americana perhaps overdue, is a collection inspired by the archives of 2 historically black colleges and universities, featuring an all-black production team and models from Spelman and Morehouse colleges.
Previously, the way that we showed collegiate style to the world was really through a white Ivy League lens.
Alumni Dara Douglas and James Jeter were...
They are more versed in family they have more grooming than I was ever even allowed to glimpse at. I was held in a schoolhouse with very little access. Clean, neat, proper, respectable, so I could have a respectable marriage someday. But as far as knowing emblems, knowing thread count, knowing the important things that you taught the bodies in the basement, you didn't teach the buried bodies that, and it was known on the sheet of who was whom and where to step in without a shadow of a doubt.
Behind that collaboration, they drew inspiration from the clothing worn by students attending HBCUs throughout the decades.
This was a love letter to Spelman and Morehouse. It was also a love letter to all HBCUs.
But it was really more about...
I have no idea what an HSBCU or whatever is in... it's just disgusting because of where I'm at the moment. And I'm not faulting them for getting to this level. Everybody should have some form of respect at some level. But the fact that you left me in a buried position while there was advancement by all sorts of bodies in the basement and then took on even more problems and let that just go uncontrolled is a real problem. And now it's a real problem that I can see, I've documented, and now my children are a part of, or I'm trying to get them to not be as in some even worse position than I was. And this particular CBS this morning is Esto es CBS Nueva York. I guess that's something to do with sponsorship to put these pieces together. But this is about the metaverse.
Esto es CBS Nueva York.
Welcome back to CBS Mornings at 7:30, where we're continuing our series Mornings in the Metaverse with a look at some of the potential risks that people could face in that emerging virtual world. The metaverse can look and feel more real than the online social interactions and gaming experiences that we're used to, but that can leave consumers potentially vulnerable, and there's a lot of money at stake. Researchers predict that the global metaverse market could be worth about $680 billion in just a few years by 2030. Consumer investigative correspondent Anna Werner spoke with cybersecurity experts who say that where the money goes, the criminals soon follow.
If you want to know what can be great about the metaverse, talk to 12-year-old Cooper Stone.
The metaverse is a virtual reality world where you can go to concerts, you can see famous and really cool people around the world.
Cooper plays video games like Fortnite and uses his virtual reality headset to play sports. And in the future, those experiences will likely seem much more real, as Jason Rubin of Meta, formerly called Facebook, told CBS News in February in an interview conducted in their virtual reality program.
Slowly but surely, I think the things you can do in the metaverse and the amount of time you spend in virtual reality in the metaverse will slowly increase to the point where we really become an immersive world.
Because here's what happens. As crazy as I sound, just in the Big Apple talking bananas, you look outside this window, nobody wants to go live out there. Nobody wants to be there. There's nothing to do. There's no one to see. There's nothing to partake in. There's no wake up, do your daily exercise routine, and then go hang out at the club and try to keep the school in order and participate. There's no committees. There's no anything. There is nothing there. They introduced this disgusting foul motility unit called the automobile, and it just gave people wheels instead of feet, and nobody has any idea where they all went. I walk around Bayside daily. I don't see anything that looks, I see few. There's a rare instance on a rare calendar event, like I think yesterday I saw something under 6 foot, not 6 foot under. He was athletic looking, or at least fit and healthy looking, but he was under 6 foot, walking in the neighborhood with a baseball cap on. Again, I mean, I walk the streets daily. I see something that looks and is fit and isn't in a 6 foot under health category. I'm just like, oh my God, they sent me one messenger or like one eyewitness. Like, thank God. And I don't say it out loud. I don't make him whatever, but I just keep on walking. I mean, I'm here. It's so obvious in what New York's turned into, and that everybody'd rather live in TV world or movie world or in their nose in a book or rather than actually going out and doing face-to-face and actually making a difference and making the changes and making communities worth living in.
So it's no surprise that companies are seeking ways to create experiences and make money in the metaverse. But where there's money to be made, the criminals won't be far behind.
We totally expect them to move into this.
Kevin Goschalk is with cybersecurity firm Arcos Labs.
The moment there's a valid metaverse spun up that has a real money mechanism where they can make money, they'll be in there day one.
He showed us how in chat rooms
And it's almost like once they get there, they take all of the voice and choice away from the people who want to do the people things.
Conversations are already going on about how to exploit the metaverse for fraud.
To sell identities, to sell social security numbers.
Essentially what you're saying is that when it comes to scams, everything old is new again. It's just in the metaverse.
It's the same, like the people who studied scams in some, I don't know, integrated international ring of overeducated in all the wrong fields and now are like the biggest enemies to the entire system. When telephones came out and became digitized and started moving faster and went from the receiver with a cord into just, it's cordless now, huh? And then it's mobile? How does that work? At least at one, you had to stay in an FM, AM range of some sort. But then they let you just walk out and whatever. But now they have this metaverse. Well, all the people on the telephone scams are already invested into this. So, I mean, the transference of power, I really don't see the purpose in humanity at all. Where it's been led and where it's hopped into, there's no point. It's the same people, same players, same problem, and nothing got better, just got worse.
Now, right? The way they do it may be slightly different, but what they're trying to achieve, money, and the goal of doing it, duping somebody into giving them money, they're going to be aligned.
Cooper Stone and his parents say they already got scammed when hackers broke into his Fortnite account last year and charged up his parents' credit cards.
They were like, Cooper, did you spend $25 or $50 on this game without my permission? I'm like, no.
We investigated a little bit more and found out that he had not done it.
Everyone is looking to make money off the metaverse, and the hackers go where the money is.
And Caroline Wong with cybersecurity firm Cobalt.io says criminals' attacks can take on more disturbing forms.
I.O. So now she's representing the Imperial Order. I'm just curious, because this gets uber confusing when we use the same symbols, which is why theoretically in a galaxy far, far away from here, You have your own set of symbols that matches your genetic appearance and identity. I have my own symbols. I have my own, so we don't fight over the simplest of things at guidelines and rules.
For example, if a hacker gains access to your VR headset.
If a hacker can access that camera, they can see into your office. They can see into your bedroom. They can see inside of your home. That's called a camera attack. Another one is called the overlay attack, when they can control what you're seeing and what you're hearing.
So in other words, they're going to change what you see and what you hear.
Yes.
Right? Into what they want you to see and hear.
Yes, and because you're so immersed, people may actually have a trauma response.
Not only that, some content in the metaverse might be disturbing to some users, especially children, as Wong and I saw when we donned headsets to visit some VR worlds. In a program called VR Chat, we found users, some who clearly sounded like children, making crude drawings we can't show here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, graffiti. I think I know what these folks are trying to draw.
And in a user-created room in Meta's Horizon Worlds, we were able to pick up guns lying randomly around a house as other users fired them off.
That's not comforting.
Another user who sounded like a young child played with one of those guns.
Put the gun down! Put the gun down! I'm the officer. No, push it, you gonna kill it.
So I guess the question is whether you want your child in here.
I would say definitively no.
Meta told us Quest headsets are designed for children ages 13 and up, with some experiences only for people 18 and up. The company says it has set up safe zones inside the software so users can exit situations they might find uncomfortable.
Well, isn't that nice? Now, where is that exit strategy for those of us in the real world that don't like what the telephone company set up? Where are our safe zones to get to over 6 foot and respectable? Because that's where we belong. That's where we know we belong. Because nothing under 6 foot has helped, and now we're starting to experience 6 foot under syndrome, which is where we're sick, we're getting sick for saying something and standing up to not only the family, but to all the bodies in the basement.
Later this month, we'll offer a way for parents to lock specific apps that aren't age-appropriate for teens. VR Chat told us underage users are not permitted and are banned if detected, and that user safety is a top priority.
I hear the companies saying, well, it's just like the real world. You can't protect against everything.
You can't protect against everything, but there are things that you can do. They build the world. They create the experiences. Everything is being monitored already. All of that's being monitored. It can be monitored. It is the appropriate thing to do. It is absolutely possible. And it costs money and resources to do so.
So they have to be willing to step up and do it.
That's right.
That means they think there's an economy with no mix.
The goal, both she and the companies say, is to create safe, enjoyable experiences for all in a new virtual world. I'm Anna Werner for CBS Mornings in San Francisco.
It feels like this metaverse was built under the guise when the criminal court system took off and blew up out of I have no idea what necessity. Then all of a sudden it's like juror at some point, because I don't even know where they come in, were given some kind of an example or whatever. And then it was like wanted for a real world. I mean, like the transition is so, if I speculate, so possible, but it's just, it just detracts from making the world a better place, leaving the world a better place than when you entered it. In like real world touch, physical. That objective and that mission seems to be completely lost upon the powers that I've needed in order to fix my one situation.
And thank you. We should let our viewers know that the company that owns Fortnite, that's Epic Games, told us it has bought controls for parents to manage Fortnite purchases and, quote, checks all accounts for signs of compromise continuously to help stop fraud. Meta, for its part, also told us in May they'll offer additional parental supervision tools to monitor their teens' activities.
I know I sound like a boomer, even though I'm not, but I'm like, I'll just hang out in the real world for now.
Yeah, I mean,
I am a boomer, and I'm going to say I just want to hang out in the real world.
As a parent,
That overlay attack, Tony, where it says they can control what you're seeing and what you're hearing. I thought Ms. Wong was very good.
Yeah, she was great.
And what the heads up that she was giving everybody. Clearly, work to be done.
Yeah, I'm already sweating bullets as a parent here. When they put it on parents to police it, it's difficult because I can barely, you can barely figure out your own phone and keep the fraud out of that from the real world, let alone keeping control of what your kids are doing.
Yeah, and the fact that kids are in the metaverse, like spraying obscene graffiti in the virtual world, I mean, they do that in the real world. So why would we expect that behavior would not translate?
Actually, if it's a choice between writing on a real building and writing on a fake building, go for it.
Go for the fake building, right? Yeah, at least you won't get in trouble.
To be continued for sure. Coming up next, Vlad, this Vlad right here, will have the stories we think you're going to be talking about today, and there's a special guest this time. And a reminder, aka an invitation, you can always get the morning's news by subscribing to our CBS Mornings on the Go podcast. We like it because what do you get? Today's top stories in less than 20 minutes. And we think that's a deal. You're watching
Presented
CBS
by
Mornings, so thank you for that.
Progressive. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And my particular overlay parlay was not lost on the fact of it seems like there's a really dangerous potential that keeps getting exploited somewhere in the background of whatever they're talking about this morning. It's April 14th, 2022.